Humphrey DeForest Bogart, born on December 25, 1899 in New York City, rose from a privileged yet emotionally restrained upbringing to become one of the most enduring figures in American cinema. Known to generations simply as Bogey, he came to embody a new kind of screen hero. Tough, intelligent, weary, yet quietly principled. Unlike the polished matinee idols of his era, Bogart's appeal lay in contradiction. He was refined but rough-edged, cynical yet deeply moral, guarded but capable of profound tenderness. His journey to stardom was neither quick nor easy, arriving later in life after years of obscurity and typecasting. That slow ascent shaped both his craft and his worldview, giving his performances a lived-in authenticity that audiences immediately recognized. Over time, Hollywood transformed him into a symbol of cool detachment and romantic sacrifice. Yet beneath that carefully burnished legend was a complicated, flawed human being whose inner struggles mirrored the emotional depth he brought so powerfully to the screen. Privilege, distance, and early formation. Bogart was born into a well-to-do family steeped in intellect and accomplishment. His father, Belmont DeForest Bogart, was a respected surgeon, while his mother, Maud Humphrey, was a successful illustrator and early feminist. Material comfort was abundant, but emotional warmth was scarce. His parents were distant and exacting, and young Humphrey learned early to rely on self-control rather than emotional openness. Educated at elite preparatory schools, he was expected to pursue a conventional professional career. Yet he resisted that path almost instinctively. After a brief stint in the U.S. Navy during World War I, he found himself drifting toward the theater, drawn by its structure and discipline rather than glamour. Those formative years shaped a man who valued loyalty, routine, and personal codes, but who struggled with vulnerability. The emotional reserve that later defined his screen persona was not an act. It was a survival mechanism formed long before Hollywood ever called. The long road to recognition. Bogart's early career offered little hint of future greatness. In the 1920s and early 1930s, he worked steadily on Broadway and then in Hollywood, often cast as criminals or secondary antagonists. Warner Brothers saw him as useful but replaceable, rarely offering leading roles. For years, he lingered on the margins while younger, more conventionally handsome actors took center stage. This period tested his patience and confidence, yet it also sharpened his craft. Bogart studied dialogue, timing, and stillness, learning how to command attention without theatrical excess. His breakthrough came in 1936 with The Petrified Forest, where his performance as Duke Mantee revealed a startling intensity and intelligence. Even then, stardom did not arrive overnight, but the industry had finally taken notice. What set Bogart apart was not polish, but presence, a sense that he carried unseen history within him. That quality would soon redefine American screen masculinity. Reinventing the American hero. The early 1940s marked a turning point that reshaped both Bogart's career and Hollywood itself. His portrayal of Sam Spade in The Maltese Falcon introduced audiences to a new archetype, the morally ambiguous anti-hero who navigated corruption without illusion, yet retained an inner code. Bogart's restrained delivery, sharp intelligence, and emotional understatement felt radically modern. In Casablanca, he refined that persona into something timeless. As Rick Blaine, Bogart revealed the cost of integrity, the loneliness, the sacrifice, the quiet courage of doing what is right without applause. These roles resonated deeply during wartime, offering audiences heroes who were not perfect, but principled. Bogart didn't dominate scenes through force. He held them through gravity. His characters spoke little, but felt much. In redefining heroism as emotional restraint rather than bravado, Bogart left a legacy that continues to shape film storytelling decades later. Love, partnership, and public perception. Bogart's personal life unfolded under public scrutiny, marked by 4 marriages that reflected different stages of his emotional evolution. His early unions, formed during uncertain years, struggled under career pressures and emotional misalignment. Stability arrived with Lauren Bacall, whom he met during To Have and Have Not. Their connection was immediate, rooted in mutual respect, wit, and shared professionalism. Despite a significant age difference, their partnership proved enduring. Together, they balanced public admiration with private loyalty, forming one of Hollywood's most respected marriages. Bacall brought warmth and grounding to Bogart's life, while he offered her guidance and unwavering support. Their collaborations deepened his screen legacy, but their bond off-screen softened his public image. Fatherhood further revealed a gentler side, one that cherished routine and family life. In these later years, Bogart appeared more settled, suggesting that personal stability, once elusive, had finally found him. Discipline, pressure, and personal strain. Behind the calm authority of Bogart's performances was a man who lived under constant internal pressure. Hollywood's demands were relentless, and success brought expectations that weighed heavily on him. He was known to be meticulous about his work and resistant to studio interference, traits that earned both admiration and friction. Bogart valued autonomy and fairness, sometimes clashing with executives who viewed actors as commodities. These tensions were not merely professional. They reflected a lifelong struggle with control and trust. While he maintained strong friendships and deep loyalty to those he respected, he could be guarded and sharp when he felt challenged. Rather than emotional outbursts, his conflicts often took the form of cutting wit or withdrawal. This internalization of stress took a toll over time. Bogart rarely spoke openly about vulnerability, preferring humor or detachment. The very discipline that fueled his greatness also limited his capacity for emotional ease. Alcohol, coping, and context. Like many of his generation, Bogart lived in an era that normalized heavy drinking, particularly within Hollywood culture. For him, alcohol became a familiar companion, woven into social life and professional settings. While often romanticized in popular memory, the reality was more complex. Drinking served as a coping mechanism for stress, insecurity, and emotional fatigue rather than indulgence alone. Colleagues describe periods when it affected his mood or stamina, though he remained largely professional and reliable on set. Importantly, those closest to him understood that his struggles were not about excess, but escape. In later years, particularly during his marriage to Bacall and after becoming a father, he moderated his habits. The story of Bogart's drinking is best understood not as scandal, but as a reflection of the era's blind spots around mental health. It underscores the human cost of sustaining a public image built on toughness and control. Principles, fear, and public pressure. Bogart's brief involvement in political activism during the late 1940s revealed another layer of complexity. Initially, he spoke out against ideological persecution in Hollywood, aligning himself with peers who valued artistic freedom. However, as political pressure intensified, he withdrew and publicly distanced himself from the movement. This decision disappointed some colleagues, but it also exposed the vulnerability beneath his defiant image. Bogart was not immune to fear. Fear of professional consequences, fear of misjudgment, fear of being misunderstood. Rather than cowardice, his retreat reflected the reality of navigating a system that punished dissent. It was a moment of contradiction that humanized him, revealing a man torn between conscience and survival. Unlike his screen characters, real life offered no clean resolutions. Bogart carried that ambivalence quietly, never fully justifying himself, never fully escaping regret. It remains one of the most revealing chapters of his life. Aging, illness, and final performances. As Bogart entered the 1950s, his work grew increasingly introspective. Films like In a Lonely Place and The Caine Mutiny reflected a deeper awareness of moral uncertainty, authority, and inner fracture. His performances became leaner, more precise, infused with lived experience. Off-screen, his health began to decline, though he continued working with determination and grace. Diagnosed with esophageal cancer, He faced illness with characteristic restraint, supported unwaveringly by Bacall. Friends noted his quiet courage and humor. Even in decline, he remained engaged with his family, finding comfort in routine and companionship. When he passed away on January 14, 1957, at age 57, Hollywood mourned not just a star, but a standard of integrity. His final years revealed a man who had made peace, not with perfection, but with truth, legacy of a complicated icon. Humphrey Bogart endures not because he was flawless, but because he was real. His screen presence captured contradictions that audiences recognized in themselves: strength mixed with doubt, loyalty shadowed by regret, courage tempered by fear. While history often polishes its legends, Bogart's greatness lies in resisting simplification. He was disciplined yet wounded, principled yet cautious, guarded yet deeply capable of love. His darker moments do not diminish his legacy. They give it weight. Bogart transformed personal struggle into artistic clarity, leaving performances that feel alive because they are grounded in human experience. Decades later, his films continue to resonate, not as relics, but as emotional truths. In understanding the man behind the myth, we do not lose the legend, we gain it. Bogart remains timeless because he never pretended to be anything other than human.